Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Tottenham cruised into the Carabao Cup fourth round with a 3-0 win over Doncaster Rovers. João Palhinha scored a stunning acrobatic opener, Brennan Johnson sealed it late, and Doncaster's Jay McGrath turned into his own net to help Spurs on their way. Thomas Frank praised his players' control in the first half, highlighted promising performances from youngsters, and confirmed Pape Matar Sarr's injury is only a minor precaution ahead of the weekend. Spurs now set up a huge clash with Newcastle in the next round. Thomas Frank was a happy enough man in his press conference after Tottenham's 3-0 victory against Doncaster Rovers in the Carabao Cup third round on Wednesday night. The game was won with an acrobatic strike from João Palhinha and an own goal from Doncaster defender Jay McGrath before a late Brennan Johnson strike. The victory set up a fourth round trip to Newcastle for Frank and his men as they look to compete on all fronts this campaign. Our Spurs correspondent, Alasdair Gold, was among those putting the questions to Frank after the game. Here's a full transcript from the press conference at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. First and foremost, happy with the win, happy with the clean sheet, and happy that we are through to the next round. That was the aim. I think the first half was good, controlled the game, created chances that we wanted and needed. I think we could have scored more goals in the first half actually. Got some big opportunities to Mathys Tel, Rodri and a few other situations that were dangerous. Second half was more disjointed. I think we threw the ball away too easily. The pressure was not top, but also praise to Doncaster. They came very brave, very good to stretch us. So if the pressure is not perfect, they made it difficult, so praise to them as well. Very happy. He has been very good for us since he joined us. Again, just stepping into that centre-back role and played very well, and scored a very good goal. So, yeah, pleased. Pape Matar Sarr, just a minor precaution. A minor. How can you say, a little stretch to the thigh so he didn't want to take any risks today? There is a good chance that he could be ready for Saturday. I don't think he has a bad run, if I'm honest. He played striker against West Ham, which I think he did quite well. Worked very hard for him to arrive in the right areas, which I think he did today. In terms of performance, that was a step up. Then we can look at the end product to score the goal. But the performance to arrive in the box, I was very happy with. Just close with the first ball from Brennan, ready for the cutback. Second half got in there on two other good situations and had a nice shot. I think it was a step up in terms of performance. I think you can see that his ability in this game to arrive in the box and the pace he got to both running behind and also getting into the right areas. I think it's good. I think his pressing ability is very good. I like the way he works in that situation. And then I think his link-up play is something that is a good level, but he can be even better. Yeah, very happy with that. I think it's always a pleasure to be part of a young player's debut. So yeah, happy with that. I think Archie can play centre-back and right-back, but I see him more as a midfielder and I'd like to see him today in that position. I was confident and I was happy that I was backed in that feeling about João as a centre-back. Yeah, I think that definitely over the last many years, the focus on the talent development and academies across the world is so big. So the talent pool is bigger. There are these talents coming through that are younger and younger. But one thing is the debut when you're 16. The next step, and much more important, is how Luka or other players take those steps forward. It's very tough to keep going and then get into the first team as a really regular player. But the first step is very important. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Of course, he really wanted to score and do well. Unfortunately, as a striker that you get measured on, exactly the same as a keeper, you need to get measured. You can't throw it into your own goal, but I think, as I said before, the overall performance was really a step forward. But of course, I really wanted him to score as well, because that would make it an even better story. Thomas Frank has opened the door for Harry Kane's sensational Tottenham return, admitting he'd welcome the England captain back despite his Bayern success. With a buyback clause in play, Spurs fans are daring to dream. At the same time, Frank is tipping 16-year-old Luca Williams-Barnett as the club's next big homegrown star after his stunning rise through the academy. Thomas Frank has made it very clear that he would like England captain Harry Kane back in a Tottenham shirt, and has also spoken about the club's next potential homegrown star, Luca Williams-Barnett. Kane is believed to have a release clause in his Bayern Munich contract, which will be worth £56.7 million next summer if the striker activates it by informing the German side before the end of January of his intention to leave. Ex-Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy confirmed after Kane's sale in 2023 that the North London club also inserted a buyback clause into the deal, and that gives them first option on the prolific forward. With Kane just 47 goals off Alan Shearer's Premier League record of 260, the 32-year-old England skipper has always been expected to return to England at some point. There are said to be fears within Bayern that after 3 seasons they could lose Kane, who has netted a remarkable 98 goals in 103 games for the Bavarian Giants, along with laying on 29 assists for his teammates, before the 4-year deal he signed comes to a close. With the Premier League's top sides currently all packed to the brim with expensively assembled strike forces, a move back to the North London club, where he is the record goalscorer, could end up being the most likely return route for Kane. I think there's a lot of Tottenham fans, including myself, who would like to see Kane back, admitted Spurs boss Frank. He's a top player. Personally, I don't think he will do it right now. If I'm honest, he'll probably stay in Bayern and continue performing well. He was top scorer last year and won the championship. He's doing fantastic now. I don't know what he's thinking. Myself, I'm a traveller. I like to travel. I like to explore things as well. He's been here for many years, so why not enjoy the time at Bayern a little bit more? But he's welcome. If he wants to join us, he's more than welcome. He added, I didn't know there was a clause. I see 2 things. 1, he is an unbelievable player who did fantastically for Spurs and is doing fantastically for Bayern. Top player. Over the years, Kane developed ties with the powerful Lewis family, who own Tottenham, and often holidayed at their Bahamas resort. The biggest obstacle to any return would be the England captain's wages, which are reported to be around £400,000 a week at Bayern. That is far beyond Tottenham's current wage structure. However, the Lewis family have taken on a more prominent role at the club with the departure of Levy and are expected to inject funds and alter the way Spurs operate going forward. That could mean a change to the wage-to-revenue ratio that is currently the lowest in the Premier League. Kane was one of Tottenham's own after coming through the ranks to become their top scorer, and now those within the club have high hopes for another potential star in their ranks, in 16-year-old Luca Williams-Barnett. The attacker was named on the bench in the Premier League and Europa League last season, during the club's injury crisis, without making his debut after starring for the U18s. Now the teenager has been training with a fuller first team under Frank, after impressing in the UEFA Youth League, and for Spurs U21s, as well as on his England U18s debut, with a stream of goals and assists across his appearances at various levels. Despite his age, Williams-Barnett netted a first-half hat-trick against older defenders for the U21s at Leicester on Friday night. Of course, he's been training with us, Luca, a few times, and I get good info from the academy and from our transition coach Stuart Lewis. So yeah, I'm well aware of Luca's talent, and I like what I see. He's young, obviously, but his composure and technique and vision is very good, said Frank. I think it's the fine balance that he needs to play and develop somewhere where he gets pushed enough, but it's not too tough, and other times where he needs to be pushed very hard, and it's tricky for him to cope with the intensity or the physicality. So it's just to try to strike that balance. When asked whether Williams-Barnett could be in the squad to face Doncaster Rovers in the Carabao Cup 3rd round on Wednesday night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the Spurs boss appeared to hint that it might happen. Yeah, he's a player that we like a lot, said Frank. Let's see tomorrow, but that could be an opportunity. 2 senior players, albeit still both young at 20, that Frank is also looking to develop are Wilson Odobert and Mathys Tel. The Tottenham head coach has belief in both of the France U21 international teammates to become key players for the club in the years ahead. Both of them are exciting and good players. Let's start with Wilson. I think his game against Brighton was promising. He said, I liked the variation in his game, so he could go on the outside and produce a cross with his left foot. He could go inside and cut across. He combined nicely. Good link-up play as well. Good understanding of his teammates. worked hard. Probably a little bit of, I hate to say end product, I don't want to say that, so I'll say arriving in the box. That's where he'll score most of the goals. I think he's in a good place. He added Matthews the same. I like what I've seen so much in training. I think he played a decent game against West Ham as a striker. Maybe both of them are best to the left, so that gives me a nice challenge in terms of that. What I'm convinced about is that Tottenham have two very good players that I am very convinced will be very good for us over the next years. One figure at the North London club who has been in the news this week is Fabio Paratici. The club's former managing director of football resigned in April 2023 after receiving a 30-month global ban for his involvement in the Plusvalenza Juventus scandal, which involved claims that officials had inflated the official transfer fees with other Serie A clubs to create millions in capital gains for tax purposes and allow more to be spent in the transfer market than financial fair play rules would have allowed. The 53-year-old was retained by Spurs as a consultant, used particularly during transfer windows, but in recent months has become a more prominent presence at Tottenham games, again with an expected return to an official role at the club. There was more drama though around Paratici this week, when a plea request was accepted by an Italian judge to settle a false accounting case as part of the Prisma criminal investigation. Among the former Juventus executives, Paratici was handed a suspended jail sentence of 18 months, although the plea from the group does not involve an admission of guilt or recognition of liability. Frank was asked on Tuesday about his involvement with Paratici since he had arrived as head coach at the club this summer. Fabio is a consultant. Of course I speak to him. I've spoken to him mainly in the transfer window, while he's part of the group that works and deals with the transfers. I've got a good relationship with him, said the Dane.